Welcome to The Well, where we talk about life, death, and everything in between. My name is Jay, and my favorite Christmas decoration is the dancing snowman projector on my garage.
Hi, I'm Pastor Carrie, and my favorite holiday TV special is Rudolph.
Hi, I'm Pastor Tim, and my favorite Christmas trivia is in the winter, male reindeer drop their antlers, which means Santa's sled is being pulled by female reindeers. They keep their antlers through the winter. And speaking of that, that's why Santa can make all of his deliveries in one night, because the female reindeer don't get lost like the male reindeer. At least that's what Betty tells me.
Fantastic.
I can't believe you have something to save us from this moment, Craig.
I do. So we're going to do something a little different on the pod today. We are going to do the food first. This is my holiday recipe for our little vignette of holiday recipes. Mm-hmm. And this one has to come hot out of the oven. So we're going to just go ahead and do that first since it just got out of the oven. This is a winter squash, and it's roasted on the Traeger. So this is it's a smoked herb roasted squash, and the squash itself is called an autumn frost squash. And I did obviously Traeger it last night and then just heated it up in the oven.
So we're throwing everybody through for a loop. Jay's doing the intro. We're doing the food first.
Crazy.
It's the last episode of the season, everybody.
Woohoo!
Which is like woohoo, and also like, oh no.
Okay, I should have. There could be some salt on this. Sorry, guys.
I like to use a phrase that I learned from our producer, Doug. There's nothing to apologize for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, well, first of all, I love squash. Don't consume enough of it in my life. So I'm 5 out of 5 on this. I love there's just slight texture on the outside, and then the squash is just perfectly cooked through the middle. And, huge fan of the grill and the smoke on it. It's really good.
I was happy that it wasn't too smoky. I didn't know if it was going to be like way too much, but it seemed to be just the squash is a powerful thing. So I like it too. I mean, I'll give it a 4 because it should have some salt on it.
Now, I love the smoky flavor, and I have to confess, I do not like squash. So, I told Pastor Carey before that if I gave it a 2, it was really good. I give it a 3.
Whoa.
Oh.
I totally overachieved.
If this was on my plate as a child and my mom told me I had to empty my plate, I would finish it.
Oh,
Okay.
I like that.
But my mom's not here.
I get it.
So, you say that you don't like squash. So I love squash, which started me on a higher scale, right? But I also, I say it in youth stuff, and Pastor Tim and I have a riff that we joke about with sweet potato fries. But that was that like crispy outside, soft inside. The right sweet potato fry has that, right? And that's what this did for me. And with the grill and the smoke, it's just like to the extent of like, we're recording this before Christmas, like maybe checking on the recipe type of conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boys and girls, there is no such thing as a right sweet potato fry. It doesn't exist.
So, producer Doug, what is your take on the grilled?
Oh, I
winter
love them.
squash?
Yeah, you. I think you hit the nail on the head. It tastes like a sweet potato fry. And I think that's what I like about it. Is like, and I like the little bit of heat on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice touch.
Just a little bit, yeah. Yeah, it balances that sweet a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
So
thank you.
that's a wrap on season 1. No, we haven't even started here.
It's just crazy here for the last episode.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
All right, and we have one more person who we haven't even introduced yet in this
Seems
pod.
like kind of
Merry
coming out of a
Christmas,
Christmas
Mel.
nap there
Merry
a little
Christmas,
bit.
Mel.
Oh, yeah, he
Merry
had all the
Christmas,
treats
Mel.
beforehand. Merry Christmas. Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Not really wearing your holiday gear yet.
I know. Mel, I thought I told you to remember the Santa hat. No, but he just didn't. No, too excited about presents. Yeah.
I think, I like that
get
Mel
it.
goes by the beat of their own drum.
Like my
Yeah.
lights being up in early November, I wear Christmas throughout the last 3 podcasts, just so you know.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's
Sorry,
okay,
Mel.
Mel. Yeah, that's no problem.
You are
But,
forgiven.
Yes, yes. Mel does live at the bottom of the well still, even if he forgot his Santa hat today. And he collects conversation topics from all the people who pass by, and then he lends them to us to discuss on our pod. So would you like to go pick one out for us, Mel? All right, let's do a nice Christmas theme. Let's see if we can. I don't think that's going to happen. But
Yeah, I
you never know. Shake it off there. Okay.
Are there any Christmas themed questions in there?
I don't know. Maybe.
Time will tell.
Yeah. Could
In
be.
mid-July.
Yeah,
Well-
exactly.
This isn't one.
Okay.
Were the wise men there that night? Explain.
Why are people not affiliated with any religion the fastest growing group in America? Is this a failure on the part of the church? Read again. Oh, that's you. Yeah, you want me to? I could give you another 10 seconds.
Sure, you could
All
read
right.
it again. That sounds good.
Why are people not affiliated with any religion the fastest growing group in America? Is this a failure on the part of the church?
Okay, so the answer to the first question is I don't know. That's a lot of people with a lot of personal reasons why they do what they do, when they do it, and why they do it. And I would not pretend to know the reasons for that. I think that perhaps organized religion of all kinds has gotten caught up a little bit. I don't know, in the past, maybe people might not think it has a lot of relevancy to maybe their lives. But it's one of those things. It's a personal thing that sort of everyone answers for themselves. Is it a failure on the part of the church that the fastest growing group is a group that isn't affiliated with organized religion? No, I don't believe in that kind of thing. I don't believe in failure, and I don't believe in the Holy Spirit not working through whatever means we give the Holy Spirit to work through. So I think that we all could try harder to do better at what we do to help everyone know that they're beloved of their Creator. But I can't imagine that anything that we do, we're always human. We've always been human. We've always made tons of mistakes, and we always could do things better than we do. But somehow, some way, the Holy Spirit has managed to work through that for millions of years. And I would never think that we would create a situation where God was unable to work in it. So I think when I think about this kind of thing, I trust in the Holy Spirit to work in and through the broken nature of who we are for the good of creation.
I won't speak for the others. I don't know why. I know why I was out of the church for a while. And if I take my experience, it would be because there was no willingness to allow questioning or that. And I think I throw that back on an attitude of the church. And I'm going to point fingers a little bit on Christendom. Our way or the highway, you do it this way, and it was based more on a connection of the church and the state wants good little behaving people, so they use the church to make sure they have good little behaving people. Well, when the good little behaving people stand up against the state for something that is doing wrong, then also the church sees that they're attacking them, and that's part of the problem. That's the reason why I think we need the separation of church and state. And I don't mourn the passing of Christendom. I think we're in for a new, more exciting, faithful way of being church. It may not be as strong of an organization, but I think it will be a stronger spiritual presence, not based so much on making sure people toe the line properly. So I'm actually excited to be living in a time where a false view of how church should be is going away. And actually, I think the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s were an anomaly where so many people were active in religion. I don't think it was that way before then, historically. But yeah, I think we are who we are, and the Spirit uses us and works through us, and that's great.
Yeah. Uh, I appreciate I'm going last because I had a little more time to think. But I also appreciate Pastor Carey what you were saying with um the idea of failure. Because when I first heard it, I was like, I'm going to tell you who's failed, right? And then, right, like
Yeah.
that's kind of a natural response of like, you want me to name names? Like, there's particular forms of Christianity I think are causing a big part of this, right? And then I'm like, yeah, but I also don't want to claim that so heavily that I take away from the work of the Spirit, because the Spirit's not going to slow down because a human got in the way. Because if that was true, none of us would know of Christ at this point, right? Because we're all human and have been. So I appreciate that comment. And for me, I would say living in the youth world, which the if this question is coming from this study, I think it is. There, the group that is fastest growing is the group of some of the first youth I worked with when I got into youth ministry, and having conversations with them. Um, they don't question God and Jesus. They question what humans have done to God and Jesus, so to speak. And so, although I don't want to point blame because I really do appreciate what you said, I also do think that we, as um, religion, has become institutionalized in many ways, right? And I do think the institution does need to be called to a standard that we, as a whole, have not been, because we worship Christ, we don't worship our religion. And I question at times if we have unintentionally worshipped our religion, and I use a big "we" here. Um, and uh, and I think that the group that's growing and moving away from it is not sitting around to have us work through that. But I don't think that they're question. I really don't believe that everybody's saying, "Yep," and God's not real. Blah 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 blah. Even to the extent of when they say it, when just give them time to talk and listen, they believe in something. They just haven't maybe believed in the way we've told them to, and so they feel that they don't believe in something. And so, yeah, I don't know if I actually answered the question at all, but that's my thoughts on. Um, I don't think there's a place to put blame in it, not necessarily a failure on the church as a whole, but I do think that there's a standard that we can be called to that we maybe haven't called ourselves to yet, as a church as a whole. And yeah.
Yeah, I just very briefly, you absolutely got it, and I remember, and I thought of something, right, that I've said before. The church would be a wonderful thing if only human beings weren't in it, right? So I don't know that it's a failure on the part of the church. It's a failure on the part of the humans.
Right.
I don't know how we can separate church from humanity. The church is made of humans.
Right.
Humans are, by definition, fallible. So I think when we separate church and humans, we get into all kinds of trouble.
I have to say the thing that I learned the best when I came back that helped me out the most was to realize that we're broken.
Mm-hmm.
And I expected the church not to be broken, but it's broken.
Humans.
Producer Doug, can I take another minute? All right. I often, when we talk about failure, I think of this story and there I watched this interview with Michael Jordan, and he says that he talks about, he named the exact number of times that he was asked to he was given the ball in the last shot and he missed. And he talks about the times that it was a pivotal moment in the game and he was on the free throw line and he missed. And he he knows those numbers from the back, right, like that. And he says, but what means the most to me is not those numbers at all. It's that my teammates and I trusted each other enough that if the moment came and it was right, they were going to pass it to me. And if it wasn't, I was going to pass it to them. And he goes, that's what I remember. He goes, I can name these numbers. But he goes, that it was not about the failure. It's about that we worked together and we trusted each other. And I think, and I think as humans, yes, we are fallible. We fail, like, right?
Yeah.
But what do we do in response to that?
Right.
Do we assent to the trust in Christ and work together, which we can call faith? Or do we just sit and point our fingers at the failure?
That's right.
Right. So,
and it's more fun to talk about how failure on someone else's part,
especially when,
which is, I think, where this question is kind of coming from.
Especially
too,
when other people fail, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
if you're not
good thing we
yourself.
St. Luke's got this right, but the other right, like that's where we want to go with it as humans, right?
And that whole model of Christendom was almost universal throughout denomination.
Right.
There might have been some places where they pulled back from it, but universally, it was all of us.
Yeah. So. Interesting. Yeah, it's a big question. So, yeah. And we
gave it a big answer.
We take that one kind of seriously. I don't know. It's one of those things.
I want the question, is red or green your favorite color for Christmas? Here we go.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Pull that one out, Mel, would you please? All right, here he comes. All right. A good Christmas question there.
Is this your read?
Oh, yeah. Is it me? Oh, we got two. Well, you know what that means.
Me neither.
Put it back in, just in case.
Okay. Why do you believe there is a God? When I ask clergy, the response is because the Bible says so. What proof do you have? It seems people who believe were raised from children to believe. What about the rest of us?
So for what it's worth, I believe, I'm going to ask Doug, I believe we've answered this question on the well before.
I believe we have.
Toss that out.
So that's why Mel grabbed two.
Come out. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I should have thrown that one back.
That's yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that was
Mel's other
it.
one. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, good job, Mel. All right, Gerald May once said, "Maybe, sometimes in the midst of things going terribly wrong, something is going just right. Why is it so hard to have that perspective when things aren't going well? Is this reminder useful? Maybe sometimes in the midst of things going terribly wrong, something is going just right." Interesting question for today.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at the day. First, I'm going to get general, then I'm going to get specific.
And we should clarify what today is, since people are listening to it during Christmas.
This is a couple of days before Christmas, right?
Yeah.
So,
but the actual day that we're recording this
is not.
Right.
But I'm pretending like it is.
Okay.
Oh, yep. Nope. Pastor Carrie and I went to a different day. We went to the day we're recording.
But yeah, we can.
Okay,
you
go for
do
it.
it how you want to do it. Yeah.
I'm going to say that. Think of that whole situation of them traveling from Nazareth to Bethlehem, probably walking because they weren't wealthy, and she's near having a baby. That I can't comprehend what that's like, taking a trip like that. But all the terrible things, them not having a place for them, even though it's the guest room of somebody he's related to. There's no place for them is actually what it is. And anything that can go wrong will go wrong. This baby's born, and who comes to see him? This King of Kings, but dirty, slimy, lanolin-covered shepherds. And that's who comes and sees him. And what good came out of that? The struggle that young couple had. And then I think about holiday time comes, I start thinking about those who aren't with me. I think about my dad. When he died a couple years ago, he was Catholic, and his priest, a friend of mine, the priest in Iowa Falls, was doing his last rites in that. And Dad was not conscious or anything, but Betty even said this, a calm came across his face, a almost like a look of joy came across his face. He was unconscious, but this came across his face. And when Father finished with the last rites, he and I were talking, and Betty goes, "Guys, look." And we looked just at the time that my dad was taking his last breath, but it wasn't labored. It was just, And Father said that was beautiful. And I kind of believe that everything possibly could think of was going wrong, but everything you could possibly think of was going right.
Mm.
Yeah. So my mind is kind of going all over on this one. First of all, I do think it is a hard perspective to have.
Yeah.
But I think it's an important one. And I think about moments of leading up, learning to. I mentioned this in a previous podcast about miracles, but we all have our own journeys, obviously, and my wife and I's journey to meeting our children came with a lot of things that in the moment felt like they were going terribly wrong, and came with a lot of pain and questions and trauma. I mean, and so it did feel terribly wrong, and also behind the scenes. Something was going really right, and it was completely leading us to now exactly where we needed to be. And I want to clarify that I don't say that in the whole like God's got a plan, blueprint for your life type
No,
of way.
no.
I don't want to be misheard in saying that, because I'll say it publicly here. I don't believe in that. I believe God walks alongside us, but I don't believe that if your life starts twisting and turning that you fell off of God's path, because that just puts God in this angry box that I firmly believe God doesn't live in. And
Jesus even says things are going to get nasty.
right,
Just keep
right.
living.
And so I actually I having fully not believed in the whole path thing was actually helpful in this, even when it did even when it was going terribly wrong and felt bad. But in that, there was things that were going right. Right? Steph and I were learning new forms of communication with each other, which then meeting a child with special needs has something we rely on heavily and learn day in and day out again and again to use said skills we learned, right? And so I think of that. And then also, Pastor Carrie and I believe went the same way when we talked about the day it is. I see a lot of people today. We're recording this on Election Day.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people today wrapped around many different buildings, but believing in the hope of using their voice. And for some, the perspective is that things feel really off and wrong right now. And using our collective voice as people of this town, of this state, of this country, can help things be right, even if it feels wrong right now. But that takes all of us working together and using our collective voice, right? And so, yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah.
I want to give you time.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, really good perspectives from both of you. Thank you for that. I'm going to come back to what I said a miracle was, right? When human cynicism meets divine love. And I feel like that is also what this is where this is going for me. Because I instantly thought of Mr. Rogers, right? I know, again.
I love Mr. Rogers.
That he said, you know, when you're seeing tragedy, when you're seeing these things on TV, what do? You look for the helpers, right? And what that is, it's a mindset and it's a practice. Yeah. And if you keep just looking at the wreckage and the violence and all of the things that go wrong every day, unfortunately, our culture trains us to look at that, right? That's what sells. Mm-hmm. So that is what is being sold to us 24 hours a day of our entire lives, which means it is a practice to see that something is going just right. And we can't just say it one time. We have to say it over and over and over again. Because if we don't practice seeing that thing, we can't testify to it. And if the church and the people who make up the church aren't saying, but something is going just right, then no one's going to say it.
And we call that hope, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly right.
Thank you. Thanks, both of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Did I cut you off? I'm sorry. Did
No,
you?
no,
Okay.
no, not at all. No, not at all. Yeah, I'm passionate about that. All right. Gosh, I feel like
Question for y'all. Can I throw a wrench?
Yeah.
please.
And I'm gonna say that since we don't have food to look forward to, that y'all have been a little long winded, not trying to rush through to get to the food.
Oh my gosh, it's a great observation. You're right.
We are,
Let
and
me
the
quit.
food nourished us to continue.
Yeah. Here's a suggestion. Just because we went long on those last two.
Yeah.
What do you think about? Let's change things up here for the
Let's do
last
it.
I love
question.
it.
I wanna ask you all a question.
Whoa.
Okay.
What has been the highlight of? We're doing this at the last episode of the season. Thank you everybody who's been joining us so
Thank
far.
you.
at
Yes,
the
thank
well.
you.
Very much.
It's been a blast, and we love doing this. And we're looking forward to season 2 coming out in February.
Whoop, whoop. And y'all, if you don't listen to it, we have no one to talk to.
All alone.
So I want to ask you all a question. Sorry, Mel. Mel, if you want to jump in and answer too.
Yeah.
What
His own way.
what's your highlight of this year so far as 2022 is coming to an end?
And since it would be you go.
I have a general highlight and a specific highlight. So my specific highlight has, I think, only been shown on like an Instagram reel once, but it happened before official recording, and we started just talking and like just riffing off of different things, and we did a whole bit naturally on people in Costco and like used our own voice, like made up voices for it and everything, and then ended up turning us into asking, do you know how you know someone's from Chicago? And it was like,
How?
because they tell you all the time. And it just was like just this like grounding and like laughing moment, and realized, as I find myself calling you colleagues more now, but
My wife has saved that on her phone, and every time I start talking about Chicago, she pulls it out.
Yes. But we do when we're not in front of these mics and in this room. We have to have the serious talks and the business talks and all of that too. Just that moment. And then for me, a general moment is a pretty personal one. I feel like in my journey of deciding receiving the call to go to seminary and not struggling, but kind of working through that for 7 years and deciding to do it and being on a podcast while I'm like actively finding my voice within that, with people that are so graceful to walk alongside me, is absolutely huge and life changing. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful to be on this podcast and be part of it.
We're thankful for you.
And I'm thankful that there's a season 2 because I want to keep going.
Totally. All right, Mel, what's your favorite part?
And yeah,
Maybe a high five for Mel.
let's go.
Does love the high five. Perfect. Thank you, Mel. I think when I think back to all the podcasts, I think still the thing that stands out most to me is when Jay and I came in here and put these headphones on for the first time. It was just like,
I forgot
and
about
then
that.
Pastor Tim came in and we all had our headphones on and we had our microphones, and it was just this unexplainable feeling of fun. This is so much fun. So I think that first moment where I kind of realized, wow, this is really happening, and it's that stands out to me as the most special moment. And also, thanks to all of you for working with me on it. It's been a pleasure to work with all of you.
That first moment we came just to take a picture, and we talked for over an hour, and our cheeks hurt because we were smiling.
because we were smiling so much. Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yep, I have that picture on my phone still.
Yes.
This is so hard because, I mean, the fact that we encountered Mel through this is amazing to me. The three-legged stool, I just love that analogy that you brought for us. And Mr. Rogers, I love that you bring Mr. Rogers in. But I have to say I have a general one, and it happens every time we record. Sometimes like a Monday before or something like that, Doug will do the reminder, okay, that staff, we've got the well next Tuesday or next Thursday. And I'm like, yay, all week because we're going to do the well. Yay. And then I have to say, we're taking January off, so there'll be no well recording for the next couple of months. No, don't do that to me. But no, I just really enjoy this. And it's wonderful to learn so much from the two of you and from you, Doug. It's just great. And the food's amazing. What about you, Doug?
Pop the question back to you.
Oh yeah. I don't know. It's fun. I love to create things, and so being able to create this space that we get to listen to you all, who are so much wiser, more wise. Somebody smarter than me answer that question. Listen to you all talk. It's great, and I enjoy being here. Thanks for letting me put this together with you all.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for doing it.
Do we have a time for a God moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you do that quick? Sure. This is a moment that took place a while ago, but I was reminded of it just recently, and it seems appropriate today just because of how grateful I feel at the end of this podcast to have you all, and knowing that God comes to us and shows God's self to us through each other, right, through created means. And so this story helped me understand that more than lots of words ever could. But when I was before I was diagnosed with breast cancer, actually, I was in the process of being diagnosed, and I think the third step is the biopsy. And I'd never had anything like that before, but I'm pretty classically afraid of that kind of thing. Who isn't, right? But I went into the room, and it's a room that you've never seen before with all kinds of machines and devices that I never had imagined even before. And while I thought before I went in that I was going to be okay, when I went into that room, I was like, oh, I'm not okay, and I'm not going to be okay, and I don't know like how I'm going to get through this. Because one of the things about biopsies too is you have to hold really still, right? And so I just sat waiting for the tech to come in, and I thought, okay, I'm in seminary, which I was in my internship year. I'm in seminary. I'm supposed to know how to do this, right? This is what I do. I'm supposed to know how to let God comfort me in this situation where I'm so scared and I need so much help. And so I prayed, but I couldn't really do that. So I prayed the Lord's Prayer. I think there's a saying, the words were sand in my mouth, right? Which just means they held no meaning for me. I tried to recite some psalms that I knew, absolutely nothing. And I thought to myself, this is it. This is what it's like to be abandoned by God right when I need God the most. This is really happening to me. You know, the same way as Jesus cried out on the cross, "Why have you forsaken me?" I felt so forsaken. And so I just reverted to just breathing exercises to just get myself to not cry, right? Like, just please don't cry. And so I just breathed. And finally she came in and helped me kind of get where I needed to go and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if she saw that I was upset or she was just used to that kind of thing. But she said, oh, would you like me to hold your hand? And I was like, I was under a sheet at that point, and my hand like literally shot up as if like it was like Dracula like coming out of the grave. It was like hand like I like probably almost hit her with my hand. It was so fast, and she held my hand, and it was a warm and a loving embrace. And I realized that I asked for God to come, and God did come. Not how I expected God to come, not through prayer, not through psalms, not through anything that I could conjure myself, but God came to me in that moment, in another one of God's beloved children, showing me God's love in that way. And I try to remember that. I try to remember that in the everyday, that it's not often the way we try to force God to reveal God's self to us. Like, do it right now this way. It's the way God chooses to reveal God's self to us that can be some of the most special and meaningful and life-saving ways, life-giving ways. So
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you for journeying to the well with us. A very Merry Christmas for you, and God's blessings throughout the new year.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
See you in season
Happy
2.
New Year. The Well is a podcast of St. Luke's ELCA in Middleton, Wisconsin. You can follow for new episodes airing every other Thursday on St. Luke's website or wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to drop a question in The Well, you can dive over to stlukes-elca.org/thewell to submit your questions there. The Well is sponsored by St. Luke's Foundation. The foundation is dedicated to leaving a legacy for future generations. You can learn more at stlukes-elca.org/foundation. Thanks for listening, and we'll meet you next time here at The Well.